Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? And I'm going to open my Q&A panel so that I'm ready to take questions. So hello, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Grant Writing Expert. I'm Dr. Meg Bouvier. You know me as the creator of your library of NIH grantsmanship courses. I have almost 40 years of experience at NIH as an applicant, an intramural researcher, a staff writer for Francis Collins, and now as a full-time grant mentor. And I'm here to answer your questions to the best of my ability about NIH and its shenanigans over the last year. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get started. So things you should know. I mean, we're scraping up against the R01 deadline, so I assume that R01 applicants are either in their final scramble or done, hopefully. The next come the Ks on the 12th, and the small format Rs, the R03 and R21s on the 16th. And then we start the wave of resubmissions in March. So we're starting to, we've peaked in our cycle one season, and we're starting to come down the other side, those of us who support applicants, and I know there are a lot of RDs and pre-award folks on the call, are we've hit the apex and we're heading downhill. So for those of you who are still writing, really at this point, I'm hoping that you're not watching courses, or if you're watching courses, you're doing things like checklists to avoid top mistakes, or coming here with really specific questions. But really at this point, we're actually starting to think about launching our June and July folks. So to that end, just a reminder that boot camp begins on Tuesday, February 17th. It will run for 4 consecutive Thursdays. I think the time this session is noon Eastern. So each of the 4 sessions runs like an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how many questions I get. It's meant to be super interactive. We've got over 100 people registered so far. Plenty of room. There's no cap on attendance. We welcome one and all. If you want to register, that sign up is in the chat. So it's open to members, and it's free to all members, but it's an extra step. You do have to sign up for it. You can bring your questions or send them ahead of time. And if you can't make that date or time, not to worry. We do make the recordings available, so you'll be able to see this most updated version of Master the R and hear the Q&A. And send me your questions and I'll answer them. We also have, today is February 4th, on the first Friday of every month, which is this Friday, the 6th. I have open office hours at 11:30 Eastern. There's a sign-up link for that in the chat as well. And that is up to an hour. People drop in, they ask their questions. If other people don't have their questions, we can talk for quite some time. Sometimes we have, a lot of people come and lurk just to learn. And the recordings are not, the sessions are not recorded, so you can speak a little more freely about your specific set of grantsmanship circumstances without feeling like there's a recording being made of it. But yeah, if people don't have a lot of questions, I sometimes talk to people for 10, 20, 30 minutes about their circumstances. So feel free to drop in and get some free advising that's included in your membership. What else am I forgetting? I just dropped an updated version of the human subjects form. So if you're a human subjects researcher and you need to fill out the PHS human subjects and clinical trial information form, there's an updated version of that with new samples. So SF 424 has great instructions for that. So this course focuses heavily on examples and templates for particularly in the narrative sections, and helping to resolve situations that are like gray area situations where you might not know what to do, and there are surprisingly quite a lot of those. We also just dropped an updated version of Master the Case series. So we've updated chapters 5 through 8, which are the case specific portions. So the candidate section, the letters, that kind of thing. So if you are a K applicant, feel free to check that out. There are new samples in there as well. Let's see. I think that's everything that is top of line in terms of the headlines. So today we have a mini tutorial where we're welcoming back our guest, Dr. Becky Miro. And Becky has developed some infographics to help you figure out the changes to the Biosketch. So the Biosketch changes, of course, we've talked about this. The Biosketch needs to be created in SciENcv through the National Library of Medicine. There are some changes to it. I don't love them, but we got to deal with it. They soft launched for cycle one and it will be required for cycle two. So Becky, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Thanks, Meg. Sure. So this has been a long time coming. I think we started it over a year ago. I signed in, started looking at what it was going to look like. They pulled it down. Then they re-released it as a preview, like in September. I played with that. They took that down. And even this latest version, which seems to be the final, looks different from all of those. And I've actually kept a couple of the screenshots I took way back because I thought they actually had some good things in the previous draft versions of this, and then they took it away. So anyway, it is what it is. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
And I do want to
Um,
say, I know that those who have been trying to use it for the February deadlines, it's been super glitchy. It's
mhm.
crashed a lot. And Becky, I think you had told me that your experience was that people had more success in the mornings, right?
Yeah, every time I accessed it in the morning, I was able to at least get some work done in it. If I tried it in the afternoons, down it went. Or I would get strange errors, like it's not saving something, but it actually was, but you couldn't be sure. It was stuff like that. Haven't had any problem in the last, week or two of being in there, but at the very outset of this back in, what was it, December, it wasn't good. Um, okay, so the first bit of good news actually is that I stumbled upon the fact that they've actually allowed a leniency period. I don't think they've announced this in the Friday TOCs or anything. It is in the FAQs for the common forms. And so I guess they realized that people were having some issues. And so for the February deadline, so from right now, you can include it, but you don't have to. Come May, then it will become required. What they're saying is that if you don't include it right now, the system will issue a warning, but not an error. I did have one of my fellow researchers express concern with this, use it, but you don't have to use it. And he was concerned that if he submitted an application with the new Biosketch, which may be unfamiliar to the reviewers, and someone else submitted an application with the old form, that somehow he wouldn't be reviewed the same, or they would look at his credentials differently based on the Biosketch. I respected his concern, and so I'm working with our sponsored research office to allow him to submit with the old version. They weren't too happy with us on that one. But anyway, but you don't have to submit it right now. You can use the old one. Um, so just a couple screenshots. I usually just Google SciENcv and it brings me to this screen. I sign in with ERA Commons, but you can sign in with more options, like if you use login.gov. Anyway, there's a number of ways to get to sign in. Um, Once you're in, this is what the dashboard looks like, and I've actually grayed out the two gray boxes is because I have researchers who've delegated their information to me. And so I was trying to, a little bit of confidentiality. But if you have people that delegate theirs to you, this is where it would show up. I've got the bibliographies and then their science CVs down here. And if you're already got your own CV going, it's going to be in this bottom right-hand box and it's got the name you give it. I gave mine NIH test one. And if you want in order to move forward, you can either click on the name of that CV or manage SciENcv at the very bottom right. Um, One thing you have to do is get your profile set up. So if you go to the, I think it was the Manage SciENcv, or if not, it'll be at the very top of the next page, which I'll show soon. You click edit, it's going to want all this required information for your current title and organization. And then really important is linking your ORCID. Oops, sorry, the mouse moved it. I already have mine linked, but if you don't have it, it's here. You link it. It didn't, I don't remember. I did it so long ago. I don't remember it being very cumbersome. So that's where you link it, save it. It is required now that you have your ORCID linked for this new biosketch. Um, to start the process of, I'm sorry, I'm moving some stuff around here. So anytime you want to create a new document, you get this option where you get to name your document, whatever you want to name it. Then you select the document type. For this purpose, we're using the NIH Biographical Sketch Common Form. The NIH supplement form, which we'll also talk about, is in that same selection, so you don't have to click two different things. Um, and then you can do, now I have not played with this using an external source. I did start with a blank document, obviously, because I had nothing at one point. If you want, if you already have one CV in here and you want to duplicate it, let's say you want to change the personal statement, you can select the option of existing document in SciENcv, and then you'll get the duplicate document. Um, and then as we move along, you'll see that it just generates this one giant long web page where you'll do everything and then save it at the very end. You can save as you go along. If you need to, leave the document for whatever reason, you can do that. Um, so this is what you get at the very top of the page. It's hard to screenshot, so I've done it in sections. You're going to put in your personal, your persistent identifier is your ORCID. So like I did a couple screens back, you can either do it in your profile, or if you haven't done it in your profile, you can fill everything out here. And this will carry, if I remember correctly, this information carries over into your academic appointments as your current appointment. Moving on from there, here's a screenshot of sort of what the page looks like. The very top was what was on the previous screen, and then we go professional preparation, appointments, and products. The personal statement used to be the first thing under your professional preparation in the old style, but that section is now in the supplement form, and we'll see that in a minute. So professional preparation, just it's a lot of text boxes. I've actually opened the old style on another screen and just copied and pasted to avoid all the typing. Um, One thing here is you select degrees or training as appropriate. So if you've done like a postdoc fellowship, you would select training, and then that's going to open up a drop down with different options. And if it's your, PhD or your bachelor's degree, just click degrees and complete that. One new thing is that they are requiring the start date for each of the education entries, which they didn't used to require. So we had a little bit of scrambling going on there, trying to find those. So just be aware and just have them handy. Um, let's see, appointments and positions. As usual, they're saying to list them in reverse chronological order, but honestly, the system does it for you. You can't reshuffle them, but I played a couple different dates, and no matter in what order I did it, it looked at the start and end dates and put them in order. And there was a situation here where that last paragraph, if you look at it, it says for senior key personnel must only identify domestic and foreign professional appointments outside of the primary organization for 3 years. And there was apparently enough confusion about that because NIH actually in their FAQ offered this clarification. So on the left is what it says in those instructions. And then on the right is what it says in the FAQ. And basically, when they're talking about that, they mean stuff like editorial service in a journal, if you hold office in professional societies and things like that. Those kind of appointments that concluded more than 3 years ago from the date of the application submission that you're working on, you don't include them, but it also says that they can be included if they're relevant to the specific applications.
Wow, that's broad.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, what does that mean? So, like, if you're a reviewer on a journal, sure, you could. I mean, I got to tell you, if I were filling this thing out, I would be pretty inclusive and exhaustive in what I list, and like, better to give too much information than not enough. Because this is otherwise, it's like if you're not listing anything beyond the last 3 years, I kind of feel like it's NIH saying, like, what have you done for me lately? Like, yeah, oh, you were a reviewer on a journal 4 years ago. We don't care. What'd you do? Like, it just kind of feels a bit much. So, is there a limit? There's no limit on how much you can list, right?
No, and there is no page limit, and that's one of the things I have in the infographic is there is no page limit anymore.
Yeah.
So if you want to include more of those professional appointments,
Yeah. I'd be
yeah.
pretty inclusive in that because, like I could see where there would be lots of gray area in terms of like, if you're on advisory boards or hold some office in a professional society or serve on an editorial journal, one could make the argument that all of those are indirectly related to the application, right? Like, unless it's like wildly outside of, your area. But if it were me, I mean, we have no data on this yet, right? Because we're only did the first round are just starting to go in, so we have no reviews back on this whatsoever. But I got to tell you, if it were me, I'd list everything. I would put a lot in there. So, and then just say, yeah, it's all relevant to the application.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
and then the academic and institutional appointments, those you do list for the duration of the career. Um, so that's that clarification.
Okay.
When I read that the first time, I was probably as confused as enough people that they that they clarified that.
You go on. There's somebody who just popped a comment in the box saying that asking that my microphone be turned on. Are people able to hear me? My microphone is on, and we did a sound check. So whoever posted that, if you're still having trouble hearing me, I did maximize my output volume. But if you're still having trouble hearing me, let me know. So anyway, go ahead, Becky. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. And then products, you include five closely related to the project and five other significant products. Um, Sorry, getting caught up here on my other slides. Um, other five other significant products that highlight your contributions to science. Um, what's gone from this section is the narrative, and that's in the supplemental form now. So we'll see that in a minute. This was pretty easy. You basically just click, and as you can see here, I did a screenshot. Even though it links you to ORCID, it still pulls up my bibliography, and you just select. You click the related products, the blue button on the left. It'll pop it up. You select what you want, and then you save it. So not much there. Now, another thing that will come into play is these other significant products. When we're in the supplemental form, it will let you reference those over there, but not as an actual reference. They give you guidance for what they recommend, but I'll tackle that when we get down there because that's a whole other conversation. Um, Okay, so now in the supplement document, the three things that they've got is the personal statement, honors, and contributions to science. So those things moved over because NIH still wants to capture that information, but it is not part of the common forms. So the personal statement is now limited to 3,500 characters, whereas before there was, I think, the rough guidance of like half a page or something like that. I don't recall exactly. But this time you definitely are limited, and I've had it not let you save because the section was just too long. Um, so that is that. Then honors are limited to no more than 15 entries, and contributions to science. You list up to five of the most significant contributions to science. In the old Biosketch, for each contributions to science, you could have up to four supporting products or references to support them. That's not mentioned here. What they do mention is that you can list up to 5 products listed in the other significant products section of the Biosketch common form that are relevant to the contributions described in this section. There's no specific format for referencing the products. They recommend you refer to the title, the author's last name, publication, and or year of publication. And they don't want you to provide citations here. And so this was confusing to me. And I think I sent you a message about this, Meg. It's a
Yeah,
total of 5 products. So do you do one per contribution? I think it's flexible. I
right.
couldn't find any hard and fast rule.
I also want to say I just did a quick experiment, and that 3,500 characters on the personal statement is the better part of a page typically. If it's characters with spaces, that's like 3/4 of a page. It's fairly generous.
And then here the contributions to science are limited to 2,000 characters. And this was the thing. I kept this old screenshot because I thought this was one of the previous iterations, and it's moot point because it's not like that now. But at one point, they had it where you had the contribution to science, and then you could select. This looked just like the old style, where you had a contribution and up to 4 citations. But that this is old. This you're not going to see this when you go in there. And I thought, wow, that was actually. I felt it was like a downgrade with this new style where all you have is this. But at any rate, I just was entertained by that. And then at the very end is the certification. So you have to certify, and then you can download the PDF. And that's when you get that PDF, then you go into Assist or whatever you're using and upload it as a PDF there. I don't quite understand how that whole thing about it's not going to generate an error. There must be something in the document in the PDF that the system recognizes. Um, but I haven't gotten that far. Haven't uploaded anything yet. The
Yeah.
other interesting thing about this certification is that there was an NOT that NIH released that they were going to include in the certification that you've done the research and security training. And this was
Oh,
the language that was
yeah.
there at one point. I screenshotted it, I have it, but it is gone. I don't know
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to put it back or not. Um, And one thing that got me thinking is, as all these iterations I've done over the months, when they've made certain changes, the CV or the biosketch that I had created no longer worked. I had to start again. And so I just want folks to keep that in mind. If something gets changed and something strange happens, you might have to duplicate the biosketch or the supplement form to then work again. But I don't know if that's going to happen, or I'm wondering where this went. But anyway, it went away. Um, and
And it's murky also what that certification entails, right? Like we had talked about this, you and I, we both
Mhm.
did a search and it's like somehow it's got that certification is created by the training is created by your
Maybe
organization.
organization
Yeah.
probably it. Mhm.
Yeah.
So this is the infographic Meg mentioned. So I was trying to make sense out of all these changes in some way that made sense to me. So before it was a Word document, you converted it to PDF and you had a limit of 5 pages. Now you do this in SciENcv, you get a PDF output and there's no page limits, but now you have character limits in certain sections. The identifying information, I think the main change is just that instead of the ERA Commons username, it uses your ORCID or your PID, as they call it. Um, the education and training is now referred to as professional preparation. Before you used to just type it in the table. Now you do these individual entries. It looks the same when you're done. It's still a table, and now they want the start date and the end date for each entry. Um, and then here's where the bulk of the changes are. The personal statement moved to the supplement form. The positions and professional committees and memberships stay in appointments and positions, but honors moves to the supplement form, and the contributions to science also moves to the supplement form. It's still 5 contributions, but then we have the whole thing about the referencing the 5 products listed in other significant products in the Biosketch common form instead of the 4 supporting products for each contribution. And then at the end, you have the certification. And we can share this also if folks wanted the link to the FAQ. That's where I found the information about the leniency and the clarification on the professional serving on boards and whatnot, and you only include for the 3 years. So, does anyone have questions?
Yeah, they do. So one person is saying, do you have to certify for every proposal submission? How close to the submission date should the certification take place?
Don't know that.
No.
You might have to certify each one, but I don't know for sure. I'm gonna have 2 that I'll be working on in the next month, so I'll have an answer for that soon.
My guess is that once you, I mean, I asked all these questions too, and none of us could dig up an answer to it. Like, how long does your certification last? Because it sounds like CITI certification, right? Like you do it and then it's good for a certain period of time. But what is the training? Who creates it? How long is it good for? Like, there's just no clarity on any of this yet
The-
that I've seen.
yeah, and the certification button, unless I'm misunderstanding it, if that's what generates the PDF, if you don't change any of that text, would you be able to reuse that one PDF in a subsequent submission? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. Or do you have to click that certify button every single time and generate a new biosketch?
I mean, to be fair, you really should generate a new biosketch for each application because your
Personal statement
personal
changes.
statement should be there. I mean, I have seen applications that wound up being triaged where the reviewers just savaged the applicant for clearly using a person, and they'll say this is clearly a personal statement from a different application, triage. And so I'm adamant that my applicants have to write new personal statements with every application. So, based on that alone, I kind of feel like you have to do that. But this issue around this training, like they came out with this like I mean, it's just with this vague, you know, yeah, there's like no guidance yet really. So given that this is soft launched right now, hopefully there'll be some additional guidance. There's not a lot of organization, shall we say, or clarity on any of this. If anybody has seen anything, let us know. But we've searched pretty thoroughly and cannot come up with, at least as of a couple of weeks ago when that notice came out about the certification, we searched pretty thoroughly and couldn't find details. Okay, there's lots of questions here, so let me run through them. These are so helpful. Will we receive a copy of these slides? Yes, absolutely. We actually, before we came on, I said, there is no doubt in my mind that people are going to want these slides. So members, of course, can have access to this information. That infographic at the end where, Becky did the side by side of the old Biosketch and the new Biosketch. We're going to turn that into an asset giveaway on our website. But the entire slide deck is available to members. So if you could be so kind as to put your email address in the chat, Riley will collect it. And anybody who wants a copy of the slides, feel free to do that and we'll send them to you. If there are multiple PIs, how do the Biosketches link? I think I don't know.
I don't know that they link. Like, for example, right now I'm working on an application. We have 2 PIs, but one PI is doing his thing, the other one's doing his thing. They'll give me the PDFs and then I'll put them into, we use a system to system thing, not assist. I think they're independent of each
A
other.
lot of our members do as well. So just so people have some clarity, because not everybody uploads their application. Some people do it themselves, some do it through the pre-award support office, but no matter who does it, you can either do it using Assist, or sometimes because it's a little complicated to fill out these forms, there's another platform that will kind of help you collect the information and populate the forms. So that's what Becky is talking about. So that's what her organization uses.
And so I was going to ask the co-PDPI to just give me their final PDF, and that would get attached into the main PI's application. I don't know that the Biosketches link.
Yeah, but they're both in the application, the
Yeah,
full PDF.
correct.
So
Mhm.
as always, as they were before. Yeah, this is Beth Ann, this is my bugaboo too. Without the Word version, you can't bold your name in refs. I have faculty who have pubs under their maiden name. I've advised to include a statement in the personal statement, but I still feel like this is a flaw. Me
Mhm.
too.
Yeah,
Me
and they actually, there's something in the FAQ about that, something about use asterisks or so, something like that. I'm like,
Yeah, and I have to say, in the old format, I used to have people not only bold their name, but underline the names of the co-authors on the citations, that were key personnel on the proposed project, so that reviewers at a glance could see, oh, here are the publications they have with their team members. It was such a nice system, right? And now it's like we're gonna have to, and who knows, this is the first iteration of this, and maybe there'll be something where you can do that, but I find that problematic too. I'm really bummed about the lack of ability to, and even from the standpoint of an editor, it's really hard that like either you have to convert all of this text for the personal statement or the contributions to science to a Word version so that your editors and colleagues can edit your biosketch, or they're just stuck trying to make comments on the PDF, assuming that most people don't have the platform, the program that would allow them. I don't have Adobe Acrobat to be able to.
I have a feeling that because you click certify, it might even lock it. Um,
Oh boy.
Kind of
Okay.
like if you do an Adobe digital
Right.
signature.
Right.
Um, but I'm
Oh,
very
interesting. Right. I didn't even think of that.
So I'm looking at the FAQ, and the recommendation is to use all caps and or line breaks, but the line breaks count add to the character count.
Right. Right. And I
So
will say that in general, Beth Ann, I like your workaround of using the personal statement. I use the personal statement, and it's, as I said, it looks like it's pretty generous character limit. Just with my rough guesstimate, it looks like it's like a good three quarters of a page, that 3,500 character limit. But I use the personal statement for all kinds of things, including things that are like under review. Like you're not really supposed to report out on things that are like this is in review. But sometimes I worry that like reviewers are missing things like that, where they might think that my applicant has not been productive, and yet they've submitted a bunch of manuscripts that are in review. So I have them say, these manuscripts are in review, and we anticipate updating it via post-submission materials, so that reviewers understand, like A, the person is productive, even though it might not seem that way, and B, go look at the post-submission material because they probably updated it. So I use the personal statement for all kinds of concerns that I have about how reviewers are going to view my applicant. So I think that's a really good workaround. And, like we don't have data points, so we'll see how it all goes. But okay. Hi, this felt like such a silly question, but I ended up, just so people know, whatever question you have, somebody else who is either on this call or watching the video is going to have this question too. There are no silly questions, so ask away. Um, but I ended up taking off my editorial board positions for a few reasons. One was that I wasn't sure what address to use for the journal, which was required. Ugh. Do you happen to know if we should just use the generic journal address? I think that's probably fine. I definitely would not want to see you remove something juicy or helpful or even a little bit helpful and allowed simply for want of a journal address. I'm sure that that address, the generic journal address is fine. That would be my guess. I mean, again, I'm guessing about all this. We have no data on any of this. This is all just my guessing, but that's what I would do if it were me. Um, CITI course research security, colon, a basic course is what our institution uses for certification. That is hugely helpful. So
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat that. CITI course research strategy, colon, a basic course is what our institution uses for certification. Because I couldn't find any guidance from NIH about what people are supposed to use in order to certify. So that's really helpful. Thank you very much for sharing that. We have faculty who have received degrees internationally, and it's creating an N not applicable in the education section. Yeah, I have a huge number of clients who have international degrees. I didn't realize that was going to be an
I,
issue.
I was playing with mine here and I added a one. I just said Italy. I picked another country. I didn't get a problem. Where is it putting? I saw the NA because there's one of the fields is NA, but in the end, I haven't PDF'd it, so that maybe that's why I'm not getting the error. But
Yeah.
so far it looks okay.
So one
Um,
of the things that I would consider doing if I were, like if I were applying, first of all, because they soft launched it for cycle 1, I'm not sure I would use it for cycle 1. You're not going to be penalized for not using this version, right? Do I have that right, Becky? Yeah. So it's soft launched. And they probably soft launched it because it was such a shit show when people were trying to use it. So I think what I would do if I were putting in an application for cycle 2, which are the deadlines in June and July, I'd probably wait until like late May and then go in there and try to do these things because my guess is that all these complaints are coming in and their tech support are probably trying to fix them. So if you give them a couple of months to fix these things, my guess is if you try to create your biosketch in a few months, some of these bugs will have been worked out. Okay, let's see. I think you can type in HTML code for formatting, like asterisks will make something bold, but that code counts against the character limit.
it did work. I just tried it, so thank you for that tip.
Wow, that's a hot tip then.
Hmm.
Oh, that's really good to know. Okay, so if you really have your heart set on bolding, you could, so like that would work on the publications, for example, or no?
Um,
On the,
I did it in the personal statement and it worked. It might work in contributions to science. I don't know.
okay. So obviously, because it counts toward the character limit,
Mm.
use it
Selective.
judiciously, right?
Yeah.
Such a bummer. I just hate when formatting is taken away from me. Um, Oh, and this person is also saying the certified PDFs cannot be edited. So you were right, it locks them. Once you click the certification button, it locks it, like signing a PDF. That is really curious and something to keep in mind.
So the bolding worked in contributions to science also.
Okay, good to know. All right. But we don't know about the publications because that's auto formatted out of something else, right?
Yeah, I think like the publications that are in products where I was checking those boxes in my bibliography, I don't know that you'd be able to do much with that. But the HTML coding might work in any text box.
Okay. Surya has a question not related to the biosketch, so I'm going to hold that for a minute, but I am going to get to that and continue with the biosketch related ones. Are we still limited to 5 contributions and citations are no longer listed under each contribution, correct? So we're
Correct.
still limited to 5.
But then you're allowed to reference five from the other significant products, and I still don't understand. Like, I guess you can put them wherever under each one.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
unclear to me too.
two in one, three in another. It's unclear.
Yeah. So it's 5 total though. It's not like,
Mhm.
yeah. Should faculty still list related funding in the personal statement? Is there a place to put there's nowhere else to put it, right?
Right.
I would. I would do that. So I would, let's say you're a K to R applicant. I would say, I am in the fifth year of my, KO8 and, the work done under that application has become the foundation of this R01 application. And Like I have achieved the objectives, the training objectives, and published. And like there are many instances in which it is crucially important to discuss success on a prior grant. Um, and if there is no longer a place to list prior support, then I would do it in a text version in the personal statement.
I'm reading the instructions for the personal statement, and it does say um, you can ongoing and completed research projects from the past 3 years that you want to highlight. And then there's some links that expand out more text, and it says stuff like if you wish to explain factors that affected past productivity, indicate what blah blah blah. That one goes on. A different bullet says indicate whether you have published or created research products under another name, so at least you can explain that. So there are more instructions.
Oh, so that gets back to the maiden name thing that the person was asking. So that can be clarified. They actually say that it can be clarified in the personal
So
statement.
yeah, read through all those bullets that expand out when you click on them, but it does mention the projects from the past 3 years.
Yeah, I just list them in, wouldn't list them. I would discuss them in text form in the personal statement because in my example, the K to R example, like your KO8 wasn't, like let's say your K is done. Let's say you did your 5-year K and this is now your R1 application. It took you some time to get you to process your data, get your publications out, and you're a year out from your KO8. I would still talk about it. You're a successful K applicant who's using that training and information now to apply for an R01, which is the whole point of a career development award. And if there's no mechanism within the Biosketch to actually make that case, I would do it in text form in the personal statement. I wouldn't list them out like we used to do underneath the personal statement. But I would use just in sentence form, just, say I had a successful KO8, I, achieved all the objectives. I'm now using those data to apply, like that, regardless of whether it's more than 3 years. So, so I have to say, like I've, I know that people are really anxious about not, like you want to be careful to follow directions because everybody's so nervous right now about like, the competition is fierce and they don't want reviewers to pick some little minor thing and then triage their application. But like at least in the old system, there were very few things in a biosketch that would really piss off a reviewer. Like I could see, like you might get an error message when you're trying to create the thing because you're not following the format. But within that, like what you happen to talk about in text form in the personal statement, in my experience, there's always been a lot of latitude, with the exception of the one thing that is a non-starter, unforgivable sin to reviewers is using a personal statement from another application. So that's the one thing. But I would, when in doubt, I think Beth Ann's impulse to use the personal statement as a workaround for information that you want to give where you're not seeing another place at this time to explain something or talk about something. I would just do it there, but I would do it in sentence form. I would not list things that could potentially create an error message.
One
That's
other thing I wanted to call out is that link to my bibliography is no longer there. So be sure that your ORCID is up to date because that's where there is a
a
link to.
good point. That's a really good point. Um, do you still need subheadings for contributions? I don't think so.
I'm not sure what they mean by subheadings.
I'm assuming they mean the citations. That's the only kind of
Yeah.
subheading. So that's not a
Yeah.
thing anymore.
No,
It's
it just says 5 contributions to Science Max, and then these five, but they have to be from the other significant products that's in the Biosketch. Then you can mention them in the contributions to science section, but it is completely unclear where or how. Like, do you pick one for each contribution, or if you only have 2 contributions and you can use up to 5 of these other significant products? It just was not clear to me.
yeah, yeah.
But the four citations under each contribution is not mentioned anymore.
Somebody's saying maybe by subhead they mean that headline that is at the top of each contribution. Not everybody did that in the old form. Some people just wrote text.
Mhm.
So, is there ability to create like a header for the contribution?
With the, well, it's just a text box, but with the HTML coding that people have recommended, that could be one way to have it stand out a little bit.
Yeah, I will say also there are strategies. People who fill out the human subjects form know this, and I actually have the a list of what you can use for formatting and what you can't use for formatting is actually in my human subjects form course because it's the same problem. And I will say that there are workarounds. So, for example, you can use all caps. That's a way of creating a visually standing out header that doesn't require HTML. Like it does, there are ways to do it. But it takes your formatting palette is greatly reduced. So if people want to know what's available in I suspect it's the same as the human subject form, that very limited formatting palette. People can go and look at there's a slide in my human subjects form course where I talk about what's available in that formatting palette. And so there's still more in here. And I just want to say again, there's one person who has a question about a project. It's an R15, and I am definitely going to answer it, but I'm trying to group all the Biosketch ones together. So hang tight and I will get to you. That's Surya. Let's see, I answered that. And here's a person who said, I just realized that we can only see the bold in the downloaded version.
Right.
So that's good to know too, because people may think that it's not working. And here's a person saying, as a medical writer, could I create the biosketch on behalf of PIs? That's a you question, Becky, because you do this.
So the way I'm doing it is I have them sign into their SciENcv and then they delegate access to me. I can do the bulk of it. The only thing I was having trouble with, and I haven't tried it recently, but I think it's still going to be if I try, because I have an ORCID, if I try to select publications, it links to my ORCID. I can't see theirs. But I'm going to try that one more time. So you may be able to do the bulk of it and then sit down with them and let them pick their public the products on in yeah the product section.
Okay. Any other questions about the biosketch? I think I've answered all the biosketch questions. Okay, if anybody has biosketch questions, feel free to load them in there, but I'm gonna turn my attention to this R15 question. Um, I'm studying the role of a gene in Drosophila that encodes a tricarboxylic transporter. I think that's a tricarboxylate transporter. I think that's what you are saying because I think there's a typo here. And as human ortholog for its role on testes function and fertility defects. I want to submit an R15 grant. Could you suggest which NIH division will be suitable for such a proposal? I thought NICHD will be the best fit. Let me know your comment on that. Okay, so you're specifically asking about which institute would be interested. First of all, you have to make sure that they sponsor an R15 because I can't I think that the R15 I think there's no longer a parent. I can't remember if that's true, but I think there's no longer I don't usually work on them. Because it obviously R15 organizations don't have a lot of budget to hire somebody like me. Um, but in terms of this kind of thing, I could see it going to a number of places. So first of all, spend some time in the reporter website and do a search. Use the expanded, search field and put your search terms in and see if you can pull up some projects that are similar to yours to see what kind of organizations would do it. I actually think NICHD would not be the best bet. I would actually probably be looking at NIGMS. I would consider Genome, NHGRI. Um, yeah, I know that it's development, and that's probably why you headed toward NICHD, but that's not really the kind of developmental project I typically see at Child Health, but it's worth a go. So if let me just pull up I'm gonna just pull up the NIHR 15. Just see who participates before I go sending you off to, and of course you have to make sure that your organization is R15 eligible. Um, okay, so there are two types, of course, two flavors. Um, but most organizations are sponsoring some type of R15. Um, so yeah, so I would look at genome, I would look at NHGRI, I would so 15, I see that this fertility preservation. Uh when you say I see this DERFIB fertility preservation. Oh, you're saying you see, I'm not sure what you're looking at. Are you looking at the program officer on the R15 application? This is a question for Surya. Um, Oh, CHD. Okay, you're in CHD. Yeah, here's the thing though. You really need to spend some time in the reporter website. So if you're not really familiar how to do that, let's see, you have access to Master the R series. So look at the beginning of the of chapter one of Master the R series, which really kind of walks you step by step through searching the reporter website to see to find similar projects and to see which institute sponsored them. But off the top of my head, my best guess would be NHGRI or NIGMS, general medicine. And general medicine is deep in the R15 space. So yeah. So yeah, so let me know how that goes. Come back with questions about that. If you do that search, like I assume you would be applying for June at this point. If you do that search, and you have more questions about that, let me know. And let me know as you're writing the R15 if you have questions about it, because there are some quirks about it that are a little bit different than an R01. Okay, here's a in contributions to science. Oh, and I will say it's worth a conversation with the child health person as well. I would just contact multiple program officers to try to shop for the best institute. And the way to do that is explained in gory, excruciating detail of chapter one of Master the R series. In contributions to science, okay to mention publications from the list of five products closely related to the project, not just from the list of five other significant products. I think yes.
That's not how I read it. I read
Oh,
it, hold on a minute.
it's concerning if we're like,
It says
we can't be right.
you may reference up to five products listed in the other significant products section of your biographical sketch. And when you go up there, there's products closely related to the project, and then there's other significant products. So I was literal about that. It can be other significant products, but not the closely related ones.
I don't know what to say. I really just, I kind of feel like if you're applying for cycle one, maybe use the old version. And if you're applying for cycle two, maybe wait until late May to create your biosketch, because I suspect that they're getting inundated with questions and comments and concerns, and that the bugs in the system will be worked out and the lack of clarity around certain things will also be worked out, or at least somewhat worked out by late May. That's my guess.
I had to do minor battle with our sponsored programs office on this one because they were trying to push us to use the new ones, but I was arguing that NIH is not making it mandatory and trying to respect the investigators' wishes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and this is not unprecedented. We
mm,
always see things being soft launched. I mean, the last version of the Biosketch was soft launched, and it was the same thing. It was introduced in January, and they said, "Oh, you need," or it was introduced the previous fall, and they said you need to use it for deadlines on or after January 25th, and it was kind of a shitstorm, and people couldn't figure things out, and it was glitchy, and it was problematic, and they said, oh, "Okay, we'll soft launch it for the cycle one deadlines and make it required for." And also there were all the problems with the government shutdown, with the canceled. This was last year with the canceled study sections and everything, and people not being able to, yeah. So Yeah, soft launching something is not without precedent at NIH, and they really mean it when they say you're not required to do it for cycle one. So if it were me, and these are all just guesses, for whatever it's worth, I would use the old one for cycle one deadlines and wait until late May to do the biosketch for cycle two deadlines. Because I suspect that it will be a much better um, interface at that point. I think it's going to work better at that point. And the directions will probably be clarified, just judging from how much the directions have changed in the last like 2 months from, everything all the guidance they were giving in the fall. So
And I really think we'll have to just keep looking at the FAQ. I don't think they're gonna share it
right.
as much or as easily. I just have to keep going back there and looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. So, all right. So again, if people would like the copy of these slides, put your email address in the chat before we sign off. It looks like lots of people have done that, and I trust that. Um, yeah, it looks like there are a lot of them in here, and I know that Riley has grabbed that. So we'll get that to you in the upcoming days. Oh, people are putting them in the Q&A. Folks, put them in the chat, please, if you can. Just drop them in the chat. And I'm going to stay on for another moment just to make sure that Riley's able to capture those. But on the outside chance that you're uncertain about whether we captured it, you can always just send your email address directly to me at meg@bouviergrant.com and just say, hey, I would like a copy of the slides from the February 4th AGE. So I will say, oh, here's another one is the leniency for OS for just in time and RPPR. That I think yes, right? Or no?
Don't know the answer to that one. Where's that?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And because
Yeah, it's unclear right from what I'm reading here. Hold on. It is in the section, the whole document is called Common Forms for Biographical Sketch and Current and Pending Support.
one would think that the whole thing is soft launched. So
It is
anyway,
actually it says use of the common forms for, and it lists all three. So the other support, Biosketch and RPPR. So I would take it to mean yes for all of them.
yeah, that's how I would read that as well. Okay, so anybody who wants the slides, just drop your email in the chat or the Q&A or send it to meg@bouviergrant.com. Another quick reminder that in 2 days, this Friday, I'll be doing open office hours. People can come and get free consulting on your situation. It's not recorded. So the only people who hear it are those who are in the room lurking. So you need to sign up for that separately. Members get it for free, but you have to register for it separately. The registration's in the chat. And February 17th is the next boot camp. The registration for that is in the chat. It's also part of your membership, also free, also a separate registration. And then the next AGE in 2 weeks, which is the 18th, is on. I believe I'm talking about resubmissions. I think that's the upcoming topic. So I'll be providing tips for writing an NIH resubmission. So focusing largely on writing the introduction to the revised application. So come to me with your questions about resubmissions. I know a lot of people are getting their summary statements now. So it seemed like I don't think it's going to help people who are writing for the March 5th deadline because they're probably already launched, but a lot of people are getting summary statements. So I'm hoping to be able to answer questions and provide some guidance on resubmissions. So we'll look forward to seeing you at one, if not all of these upcoming live events this month. We have 5 live events this month, so hopefully I'll be able to see you at some of them. And if not, there are recordings of everything but First Fridays available to you. Thank you, Becky, as always, for coming. It's just a pleasure to have you. This was hugely helpful. And as the French would say, courage. I wish everybody the best of luck, and I will see you at the next live event. Have a great day, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.